Psalms 9, verses 9 and 10. Are you there? It says, "The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And those who know your name will put their trust in you. For you, Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you." We had an experience this week, and I'd like all turn the lights off in the building, please. No, turn the music off wherever that's coming from. All right. On Tuesday morning, don't show any slides yet. On Tuesday morning, I get a call. But many years before that Tuesday morning, a man by the name of Sam Junta and another man by the name of Tony Ripa took on the responsibility of planting plants around this church. I would say, how old is this church building, Roberta? How many? 39? 39 years ago, Sam and Tony were figuring out where to plant the plants. So they must have had this yucca plant that they were planting, and so they decided, oh, what we'll do is we'll just plant it right there on the corner of this church. As you go out that little wing there and see that window over there, you can see that. Right on the other side of that is a yucca plant. It's grown up, it's big. It's about this big around. And so over 30-some years ago, 39 years ago, they planted that plant. And over the years, it's been pruned and it's been trimmed and maybe even cursed at by different people that have worked on. Not saying that I would do that. But, it's been there. And so this yucca plant's growing, doing its thing, and as God designed it, and it's getting big and strong, and I come along and cut rims off of it and trim it back. So remember we're talking here about Jehovah, those who know His name. One of the names of God is, and I want you to get this, is Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah Jireh. And the word Jehovah Jireh says this. It means this. Before you were ever aware that you had a need, God is supplying an answer. Now note our text here as we look at this. And it says, "And those who know your name will put their trust in him." You've heard me teach this over and over, the concept of Jehovah Jireh, right? You've heard me say that, Lord our provider. So about 2 months ago, as I was leaving the church parking lot, the Lord spoke to my heart and said, go over to the contractor over here, introduce yourself to him, and offer your church parking lot as parking for his employees. So I want to be obedient to what I feel impressed to do, and so I pull in and walk out, and I said, there were a group of guys there, and none of them were dirty, so I figured this is the group I needed to talk to. And I said, I'd like to talk to the man that's in charge, the number one person. So this little guy comes up to me, he introduces himself to me. My name is Julian. I said, I am Jerry Chapman, and I'm pastor of the church, just right at Cattywampus. I pointed at it. And we have a parking lot there. And I know that as this project goes on, you're going to need parking. And especially with the big project that's going down where Kmart was, all those this week. Parking was a premium around here in this neighborhood because the carpenters that are working on that project park their cars someplace. So I said to the guy, if you ever need and you would like to, I give you permission to park in the church parking lot. I said, it sits empty. I said, and for your guys to be frustrated trying to find a parking place, you don't need that to happen. So he thanked me very much. So the guys and I, we had a lovely dinner last Monday night, and we go home, and Diane have a nice evening, and we chit-chat, and we go to bed. And at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, I get a phone call, and it's Daniel. And Diane answers the phone, and I'm listening. And the conversation is this: someone has crashed and ran through our sign. So let us start with the slideshow. You could turn these center lights off if you'd like now. These pictures were taken by Alan. About 7 o'clock that morning. Okay, you notice where the police car is off on the right there. You see it parked there. The guy had stolen a car up the road here, and the owner of the car looked out the window, I should say, and saw his car driving up the street, going towards the 7-Eleven. So he calls the police, and the police now have made their way, or they must have been in the area, and he bumps into a police car right at the top of here by 7-Eleven. So he swings the U-ey, and he's coming now back down the street, and he's going to make a right-hand turn up on McKinley, and he couldn't make it, so he goes up the handicap ramp and hits, go to the next slide, will that be the one with the pansies? Yeah, and hits there where the pansies are, just on the left-hand side of that light. And then he proceeds then to go through the pillar and scatter it everywhere. What's up next? Yeah. And so you see how he had come through. And so my first question to Diane, because she was on the phone, what did he do to my pansies? It was easier to get. So then he proceeds on up. Now, the car here, as he came in, he hits the yucca plants. You could see his tires. As he hit the yucca plant, it kind of slung the rear around. But the way he was aiming, as you see, the tread of the tires was as he was going right for it. Do we have another picture? Right for the windows. He would have gone right through the window there, possibly setting over in that area. But that, remember I said Jehovah Jireh? Sam and Tony planted that yucca tree there, and that car would, if that yucca tree hadn't been, because nothing else held it out, it went through everything else, tore down the bush. You can see where the brickwork and the sign. Is there any more, Alan? So my pansies are okay, the light system's okay. Then the guy, as he was running away, ran out of his tennis shoes. What else do you have, Alan? Anything else? And then they came, towed the car off. You can see where it kind of hit. That's where his tire, right in that area, is where the tire went over and then he airborned as he hit that and jumped over the pansies, because the angels said Pastor planted those, and he didn't need to have to call Debbie and Tabitha to come in and redo it. So then that's the car now being towed out of the area. There's our yucca plant. You can see how he hit into that. What? Yeah, well, the pillar's right there. See the pillar? That is solid concrete, very heavy, and it goes on with the rest of the story. Anything else, Alan? Yeah, caring, loving family. That's us. All right. Is that it, Alan? Thank you, Alan. We can have some lights now, please. Now remember, I said here, and those who know your name. So Martha Jones came over, and because she had heard about it, I think she thought someone vandalized our pop sign. She wasn't aware if someone drove through it. And so I took her out and was showing us to it. Now remember Julian, the guy I met 2 months ago? So he comes meandering up, and he says, Pastor, would it be all right if I clean all this up for you? All the concrete, all the brush, all the tree stuff that was tore up, scattered, busted up. He sent 2 of his men. I don't know what he's paying them an hour, but I imagine they're getting at least $25 an hour working over there. And they spent, what do you figure, Daniel, a couple hours over here working, 2 men, and they cleaned up. I didn't have to call. I had called Tomas and I had called John and said, we're going to have to meet after when you guys get off work because we got to clean this up. We don't want to leave it there. We want to, that's in the devil's face. It's like graffiti. You paint it up as soon as it gets on, so we're going to clean up our thing. So I went over and he came up, and before I was ever aware that I was going to have a need of someone with men with strong backs, wheelbarrows, sledgehammers, and a place to dump the stuff, Jehovah Jireh was putting it together. You got to think about that. Now, the same God that blessed us, 2 men, 39 years ago, planting a because they had to have planted it because I didn't plant it. You know what I mean? And it was there when I came here. We just kept it pruned, but it was planted in exactly where it needed to be planted. That when that knucklehead come flying through our lawn and through the sign, and now torpedoing towards our church building, that yucca plant says, now I know why I was planted here. I was planted here to protect that building. Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah Jireh. Let us stand together.